Nice to see you this morning, Mark.
Pleasure.
Welcome.
Good morning, Mark. On the couch.
He's got a brand new book out, by the way. It's #1. I was just on Amazon. It's #1. It's called Rediscovering Americanism. Now, who are you about to come over the rail and punch in that photo? Because it looks like you're about to take on some people.
It's a great photo.
6 days #1 on Amazon.
Well, I'll tell you what amazes me. You said the New York Times has a whole page on the Constitution today.
A whole section.
On July 4th, the Constitution?
That's right.
Do they know what happened on July 4th? It was the Declaration of Independence.
Exactly.
There it is.
So they don't even know what day the anniversary for the Constitution is September 17th. Today's July 4th. It's the Declaration of Independence.
Wrong document.
Wrong document. So we're not going to rely on them to tell us what is in the Constitution.
You bring up the Declaration of Independence. You're a Philly boy.
Yes,
I'm a Philly boy. You're a Philly girl. You go to Independence Hall there in Philadelphia. You walk through that courtyard where the Declaration of Independence was read aloud for the very first time that morning. A quiet morning. It was read aloud that afternoon. It's got to make you frustrated, I'm sure, putting those words in this book and rediscovering an Americanism. How far have we drifted from that morning to where we are this morning?
Well, very far. Here you have the paper of record, which really is birdcage paper, to be perfectly honest about it. This is a huge day. What does our independence really mean, which I get into in the first chapter? What are natural law, natural rights? What do they mean by unalienable rights and so forth? And there they are writing about the Constitution. Now, I love the Constitution. But the Constitution is the manifestation of the Declaration of Independence. It's the governing document. The principles of this country that we're celebrating today, the men who fought for this country, put their lives on the line, what were they all about? And the reason why you won't see that explained in the New York Times is because they don't agree with it. The entire progressive movement rejects the Declaration of Independence. How do we know? They told us this. Woodrow Wilson told us this. Others on the intellectual side of the progressive movement 100 years ago told us this. They don't believe in unalienable rights. They believe that your rights come from government, and they believe that liberty is something that also comes from government. They even say it. You cannot fulfill yourself. This is why Bernie Sanders talks about free education, free health care, because otherwise you're not free, according to them.
Well, Mark, to your point, Bernie Sanders recently tweeted this. It's a great example of
He should stop tweeting, by the way.
He's the one that should stop tweeting. You're right. He tweeted this. Republicans talk a lot about freedom and choice, but you cannot truly be free if you can't afford health care or food or medicine.
That's exactly the point, and that's why you'll never see a full page on the Declaration of Independence by the New York Times. Freedom is not about government redistribution of wealth. Do you think those men who fought the revolution and put their lives on the line wanted a big centralized government that redistributes wealth? They would be absolutely appalled. No, but that's the progressive mindset. You can't have health care unless the government controls it and redistributes it. You can't have education unless the government controls it and redistributes it. It's nonsense. This is Independence Day, July 4th.
Well, we're living in different times, right, with Twitter that is dominating the headlines. You have a lot of people, a lot of the critics to the president saying, you've got to get off social media, you've got to get off Twitter. His response to that is, no, if anything, I'm going to double down on Twitter because this is my voice. This is the only way that I can get my thoughts out there. Take a listen to what he said.
The fake media is trying to silence us, but we will not let them, because the people know the truth. The fake media tried to stop us from going to the White House, but I'm president and they're not. Their agenda is not your agenda. You've been saying it. I will never stop fighting for you. I am delivering on trade, on the economy, on the Supreme Court, on the Second Amendment, on our military, for our veterans.
He also admits that his use of social media, he says it's not presidential. He tweeted this yesterday. He said it's modern-day presidential. Make America great again. What are your thoughts?
Well, what is he supposed to do? Allow CNN and NBC and all the rest of them interpret what he says? If anything's happened as a result of this, the media have completely disrespected themselves and the American people. They look absurd. Now, the president may have a bad tweet here and there, but 90% of them are quite good as far as I'm concerned. He needs to go over the head of the media. He needs to go around the media the way Reagan did. He's not Reagan, he's Trump. He has his own way of doing it. So the idea that we spend 5 days on that one tweet when we've had presidents in the Oval Office who've done a hell of a lot worse than Donald Trump has ever tweeted out is absurd.
Are you surprised, though?
Am I surprised at the media?
That we focus so much on it, the mainstream media.
Yeah,
they love this. They love it when he does
5 days
this.
is ridiculous. I mean, and who's the target? Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski? They don't even have ratings. There are more ratings on Airport Radar and sonograms than they have on MSNBC.
Do they also not... Well said. Do they also not, they missed the point, and they did an assessment of his tweets, and the vast majority of them are about substance. They are about policy or what he's achieved or where he wants to take this country, but they're laser focused on a few. Now they're going to mentally unhinge. Do you see legislation where they're saying if he shouldn't be qualified, he should be, the 25th Amendment should disqualify him in his game? I mean,
he's incapacitated.
Where are they going? How far can they go?
First of all, that's absurd. Again, they don't even know what the 25th Amendment is all about. Where are they going? They're nuts. You want to talk about nuts? The minute the man was elected, the day after, they're talking impeachment. They're trashing. There's the Constitution, they say, which they don't get. The Electoral College. Now they want to trash the whole system of how we elect members of the House. Again, when you read this, you'll see they reject our constitutional system. Trump should tweet. Just be a little bit more careful, but tweet. He has to go over the head of the media.
But sorry, that's probably where you're going, Clayton. What does the rediscovering Americanism mean? Americanism, that word.
That's the point. At a surface level, at a superficial level, we talk about we want freedom, we want this, we want... Where does all this come from? In other words, people really need to appreciate this. Now, a lot of us do, but a lot of Americans don't. And really, this comes down through the ages. And this country's so remarkable, not just because we say it, because it is. And this other force, this Bernie Sanders-type force, is completely at odds with it.
Well, we think about our American independence. It was to break off the shackles of European monarchy, right? And you write in the second chapter how we've imported progressivism from that. We've embraced progressivism to such a degree. How do we, when Americans are given free stuff, it's hard to wheel that back. We're going through this right now with health care. How do we wheel it in?
Because we explain to Americans the real free stuff is your liberty. People crawl across this border from all walks of life to come into this country for liberty, for the most part. And what does that liberty mean? We're losing it, and we need to understand it. We do need to fight this propaganda that comes from the left. What they've done is hijack the word liberty. They don't mean by liberty what we mean by liberty, as pointed out by Bernie Sanders with his unbalanced tweet today about we don't really know freedom because we don't have free this and free that. That's socialism. That's progressivism. That's imported from Europe. It's called German idealism and a number of other things. Who do they listen to? Who are their philosopher kings? People like Marx and Hegel and Rousseau, disasters. Who are philosophers that we listen to? People like Aristotle and Cicero and Locke and Burke, great Enlightenment and so forth. You're not going to learn this in college and history, and that's part of the problem, and that's why I felt I needed to write the book.
Do you think the American people get it, though? Do you think they're smarter than many people give them credit for? Because you think about even this last election, the media telling them to do a certain thing, Hollywood, you name it, that seems like the popular thing to do. They went to the polls, and the majority of the American people did something different.
I think half of us are, and half of us aren't. And I really mean that. When you look at the voting, you know, it's pretty tight. And I also think because people who come newly into this country and aren't assimilated properly into this country, and they listen, they watch the news on TV and they hear the left wing and the redistribution of wealth and all the rest of it, we lose sight of our moorings. And so we need to get back to that. Again, not at a superficial level. What does it mean? And property rights and individualism and all these things are crucial.